Ethan sat on an old wooden bench in the middle of a quiet park. The once vibrant green grass now seemed dull to his tired eyes, and the laughter of children playing nearby barely registered in his mind. His heart felt heavy, burdened with disappointments, failures, and regrets. Life had not turned out the way he had imagined. Years ago, Ethan had been full of dreams. He wanted to start his own business, travel the world, and build a life filled with purpose. But one by one, his dreams crumbled. A business venture failed, his closest friendships faded, and the weight of loneliness grew unbearable. Now, at 42, he felt empty. "What's the point of it all? He muttered under his breath, watching the wind rustle the leaves. He had lost faith in everything, including himself. As he sat there, lost in his thoughts, an elderly man approached and sat beside him. The old man had silver hair and kind eyes that held a lifetime of wisdom. "Beautiful evening, isn't it?" the old man said. Ethan barely nodded. He wasn't in the mood for small talk, but the old man didn't leave. He simply sat there, looking out at the horizon. After a few moments of silence, he turned to Ethan and said, "You are not broken," the old man said softly. "You are becoming." Ethan blinked. "What?" The old man smiled gently. "You think you failed, but failure isn't the end. It's part of the journey. Every great story has dark chapters. But do you know what makes a story worth reading?" Ethan shook his head. "The way it turns around," the old man said. Ethan stared at him, those words stirring something deep inside him. Could it be true? Was there still a way to turn things around? He didn't know it yet, but that single sentence had already begun to change him. That night, Ethan lay awake in bed, repeating the old man's words in his mind. "You are not broken. You are becoming." For years he had told himself that he was a failure. He had let every setback define him. But what if he was wrong? Ethan sat on the park bench every morning, hoping to see the old man again. Days passed, but he never returned. Still, the words lingered. "You are not broken. You are becoming." Something about that sentence felt different. It wasn't the usual empty encouragement he had heard before. It felt real, honest. And slowly it began to shift something inside him. For the past few years, Ethan had allowed his failures to define him. But now a small voice inside him asked, "What if my failures were just lessons? What if they were shaping me into someone stronger?" That thought alone gave him the courage to do something he hadn't done in a long time. Try again. Ethan decided to apply for a job. For months he had stopped looking. He had convinced himself that no one would hire him, but now he thought, what's the worst that could happen? He walked into a local bookstore that had a "Help Wanted" sign on the door. He'd always loved books, and though it wasn't a grand career, it was a start. The owner, a kind woman named Margaret, looked over his resume and smiled. "You haven't worked in a while," she noted. Ethan hesitated, but then answered honestly, "I lost hope for a while, but I'm trying again." Margaret studied him for a moment, then she said something that made his heart race. "That's good enough for me. Can you start tomorrow?" Ethan could hardly believe it. One small decision, one small step, and already life was changing. The bookstore became Ethan's safe place. Surrounded by books and quiet customers, he felt a sense of peace. One afternoon, a young boy named Liam walked in with his mother. The boy was shy, hiding behind her, his eyes downcast. Margaret whispered to Ethan, "Liam struggles with reading. He thinks he's not smart enough." Ethan watched as the boy nervously picked up a book. He saw something familiar in him, the same self-doubt Ethan had battled for years. so he walked over and knelt beside the boy. "Hey," Ethan said kindly, "do you know something cool about words?" Liam shook his head. "They're like magic. They can change the way we see things. And do you know what's even cooler? The more you read, the more magic you learn." Liam's eyes widened slightly. "Really?" "Really," Ethan nodded. "And you're already on your way." The boy hesitated, then picked up the book and began to read. Slowly, carefully, and for the first time, he smiled. Ethan felt something stir inside him. He had made a difference. As weeks passed, Ethan started to notice something. He had spent years waiting for someone to encourage him, but now he realized the most powerful words were the ones he told himself. He began replacing old thoughts like, "I'm a failure," with new ones like, "I'm learning." He reminded himself every morning, "I am not broken. I am becoming." And each day, life seemed a little brighter. One evening, as Ethan closed the bookstore, he saw a familiar figure sitting on the park bench, the old man. Ethan rushed over. "I've been looking for you." The old man smiled. "I knew you'd find me when you were ready." Ethan sat beside him and took a deep breath. "Your words changed everything for me." The old man chuckled. "No, son, you changed everything. I only gave you a reminder." Ethan thought about that. It was true. The old man patted his shoulder. "Now you must pass the gift on. There are many people who need to hear what you've learned." Ethan smiled. He knew exactly what he had to do. Over the years, Ethan became known as the man who spoke words of encouragement. He started a small mentorship group for struggling young adults, sharing his story and helping them find hope again. He wrote a book about his journey titled "You Are Becoming." And every time he met someone who had lost hope, he would say the same words that had once saved him. "You are not broken. You are becoming." And just like that, the power of a single word changed countless lives. Moral of the story: words have the power to break or heal. A single word of encouragement can transform a life. Choose your words wisely, especially the ones you tell yourself.